I'm just trying to decide if I'm comfortable even talking about that.
This one's wife, a pair of limpets. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. There are aspects of the media which this one's wife utilises to her advantage by virtue of the purveyors of PR puff pieces. Newsweek, Cosmopolitan, Tatler, Town and Country, Harper's Bazaar, People, and of course, Hello. They are perfectly content to receive the Sussex dollars for the purpose of pumping out some meaningless bollocks about this one's wife, usually bringing up the past in an attempt to make her look good. But other organs within the media, for example, GB News, Daily Mail, Telegraph, The Times, Super Soaraway Sun, and more besides, regularly revel in giving the Sussexes a reet good hammering. Many will see it as entirely merited. Foolishly, this one's wife and Harry decided to take on sections of the media. Rather than just ignore what they would write, or even seek to cuddle up to them, Harry, on his crusade, which of course has come stuttering to a halt with his recent defeat in court, and this one's wife, who believed that everybody should bend to her will, decided to take pot shots, and the consequence of that is that those media organs never miss up an opportunity or pass up an opportunity to have a go at the gruesome twosome. This presents two problems for this one's wife. The first is that she's delivered a dose of challenge fuel, where the various criticisms are writ large in print. We know that this one's wife, because she doesn't have a lot to do and therefore has a lot of time on her hands and is driven by the pettiness of her narcissism, regularly looks at what is written about her, both in the mainstream news and on social media. We know this, one, by virtue of her narcissism, and two, the fact that she responds in certain ways which signals to us that she does indeed read and watch. The second problem that she faces is that it enables the amplification of her failings, her hypocrisies, her contrary behaviours, her nastiness, to be seen by a much wider audience. As you undoubtedly recognise, there are plenty of people who are famous who get up to no good, who have quite unsavoury characters away from the public image that is carefully curated, and many of these individuals, of course, are narcissists. Yet those are more skilled and evolved narcissists who recognise that it is better to play the game of giving interviews, not challenging the press, and that the press will largely leave them alone and gave them a pass in relation to the knowledge that they have about their more nefarious activities. Indeed, it's highly likely that many famous individuals are rather pleased about the existence of Harry and this one's wife, because the attention of the newspapers is focused on them rather than the relevant A-lister who has been up to no good. This one's wife and Harry, however, have made a living of whining and moaning and laying bare their existences, and therefore newspapers see it as fair game to pick over the carcass of their failures and amplify it to the rest of the world. Thus, it formulates a particular narrative in relation to the gruesome twosome and gives repeated opportunity to air how useless these two are. Jan Moir of the Mail is the most recent journalist to do so. She explains, "Time to pack away all hopes and bright dreams for the new year, and wearily lift our eyes towards Monty Shitshow, where the sun never sets without another gassy drama taking place." Even by their own standards of high dudgeon and imagined insult, paranoia, it has been quite a week for Harry and this one's wife. It's not just that the Duke of Sussex has embarrassed the armed forces and the entire British nation by being given a Living Legend of Aviation award, an entirely fatuous tribute whose previous recipients include Riffs Through Hollywood Flying Log, Tweety Bird, Casper the Friendly Ghost and Flying Ace Snoopy. It is more that down on the ground, it seems that the Sussexes have been exposed as the Bonnie and Clyde of name napping, revealing themselves to be a pair of marauding banditos who mounted a raid on the House of Windsor and made off with a prize beyond rubies, the Queen's childhood nickname. At the time, back in the summer of 2021, the Sussexes claimed that Elizabeth II had given her blessing to their baby daughter being christened Lilibet, and issued legal warnings to the BBC and others who suggested otherwise. Now, we know that the Queen was far from happy. In fact, she was furious, and felt she had been bounced into accepting the Sussexes' audacious decision. "Angrier than I have ever seen her," said one aide. And the name Nap was audacious, not to mention cheeky, grasping, and utterly selfish. The only people to address the late monarch as Lilibet were her parents, her sister, and her husband. One can imagine, for a woman who lived so much of her life on the public stage, a matriarch whose very homes were business hubs packed with official staff and courtiers, how much this affectionate intimacy mattered. Unlike the Koh-i-Noor Diamond, or the ballroom at Balmoral, the Gold State Coach, or any of her myriad titles, the name Lilibet was not on loan. It wasn't a regal rental. It was hers, and hers alone, until it wasn't. Among the royals, it was a tradition to pay quiet tribute to the head of the family via the middle name to their daughters. 3 of the Queen's 4 granddaughters and 4 of her 7 great-granddaughters have Elizabeth as a middle name. But this respectful homage wasn't good enough for the Sussexes, a pair of grifters, forever hungry to forge lucrative connections to the House of Windsor, thus strengthening any silken bonds that might subtly remind the American public of their supposedly elevated status. Even as they trashed the royals as racist and worse, Harry and this one's wife still clung to the institution's superstructure, like 2 eager limpets sucking nutrients off the rusty hull of the royal yacht Britannia. But if they hated the royal family so much that they had to change continents to escape them, why didn't they call their daughter Doria? The late Queen's dismay has been freshly revealed in Charles III, New King, New Court, The Inside Story, a new book by the royal biographer, by Robert Hardman. Robert's sources are impeccable, and no doubt his version of events is the one that history will recognise as the truth. Yet, as Lilibet Gate continues to make headlines around the world, it's notable that the litigious Sussexes have not said a word about this reputationally corrosive development, not one squeaky cheep. Indeed, the silence from Monty Shit Show is deafening. Perhaps Harry and this one's wife are consoling themselves with the shiny new Living Legend of Aviation award, something to put upon the mantelpiece along with their Global Ambassadors of Do-Gooding accolade and their Hey Guys, Humanity Needs Us trophy. This is the cheap tinsel world that Prince Harry has chosen for himself. No one doubts that Harry was a brave helicopter pilot during his 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan, but so were many thousands of other airmen flying in war zones around the world. And since then, it has to be said that his key contribution to aviation and aerospace has been to take numerous flights on private jets, while hypocritically lecturing everyone else about climate change. Is there an award for that? Thus, another opportunity for the press to slate this one's wife and this one based upon the evidence. Demonstrative of how they are seen as those limpets trying to suck dry the royal family. Below the line, Bev Hill states, "Well said, you nailed it." Finn Stewart, "Brilliant article, spot on. You raise a very interesting question. Why indeed was the child not given the 3rd or 4th name of Doria to honour her maternal grandmother? I think the answer may lie in the future to gain more attention and dollars. The poor child." Mrs. Baggins, having failed the pilot's exam 3 times, ending up solely as a gunner, he was never able to pilot the Apache. He cheated at Eton, and the helping teacher lost her job. He had to repeat a year at Eton as well. He asked for secret and authorised help at Sandringham. I think they mean Sandhurst. He has no business getting this award when Tim Peake has not received it. Money buys their awards. Ned Kelly, he was not a qualified pilot, unlike his brother. Polecats, they made $150 million out of him betraying his family. Never forget that. J. John, brilliant article, thank you. Sorry, just one point, he was a gunner, not a pilot. Whilst it may seem insignificant, the difference is huge. Polecats. Remember when this one's wife made the ludicrous claim that she didn't know who Prince Harry was and had to Google his name? So funny, when later it was proven to be untrue. Polecats. Strip them of their titles and privileges and leave them to wither on the vine. Pete 25. Once the world was Harry's oyster, but the pair of them are absolutely just like limpets. Completely shellfish. Boom-tish. More criticism of the Sussexes, and it will not relent. For as long as they continue to put themselves in the faces of the world, the press will be there to shoot them down. And it's so easy, because they make so many errors, so many gaffes. And it's all because he can't see it because he's dim and shrouded in the emotional thinking and manipulations of his wife, and she can't see it because her narcissism blinds her. However, the world does, and thus more and more people turn their backs or ridicule the Sussexes. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.